Good morning. Once again, Brother Jim reporting here at End Times Prophecy News. Newsweek fires the reporter who wrote inaccurate story on Trump's Thanksgiving Day activities. Uber-liberal Newsweek had President Trump just where they wanted him. On Thanksgiving, rather than enjoying the day, the editors and reporters at the once great magazine, that is now a pathetic rag, decided to go after Trump. Quote, "How is Trump spending Thanksgiving? Tweeting, golfing, and more," wrote reporter Jessica Kwong, who linked to an article she wrote that speculated about Trump's activities for holidays. Quote, "As with any other day of the year, Trump will probably be tweeting or expressing his opinions in another way. I just can't wait to get it out, even though it's wrong." On Thanksgiving Eve, Trump tweeted an image of his head on the body of Rocky Balboa, the fictional boxer portrayed by actor Sylvester Stallone in numerous movies, Kwong wrote in her story. Oops. It turned out that when Kwong was writing her story and long after her editors had published it, Trump was flying to Afghanistan to meet with troops and to help serve them a Thanksgiving dinner. Trump enjoyed the misfire. "I thought Newsweek was out of business," he wrote on Twitter. Fake news versus reality. It pretty much did. The Washington Post sold Newsweek in 2010 for $1 to a stereo equipment mogul, and the news site went full never Trump. Now Newsweek has fired Kwong. Newsweek investigated the failures that led to the publication of the inaccurate report that President Trump spent Thanksgiving tweeting and golfing rather than visiting troops in Afghanistan, a Newsweek representative told the Washington Examiner. "The story has been corrected and the journalist responsible has been terminated. We will continue to review our processes and if required take further action." Ouch. The article was rewritten with a note added at the end that read, "This story has been substantially updated and edited at 6:17 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to reflect the president's surprise trip to Afghanistan." Additional reporting by James Crowley. Before she was canned, Kwong addressed the update on social media, tweeting, "Trump headed to Afghanistan to surprise U.S. troops on Thanksgiving," deleting this tweet because it was written before knowing about the president's surprise visit to Afghanistan. An honest mistake. Story has already been updated as shown in the screenshot. Gotta say, she's right. She was fired for writing a story her editors ordered up, driven by their deep hatred for Trump. No, they're against hate speech. She wrote it. They posted it. Maybe the editors who assigned the story and posted it should get the axe too. You think? How about Rolling Stone rips Bloomberg just killed the Bloomberg News Agency? Michael Bloomberg is feeling the heat on multiple fronts from fellow leftists. Not only is he taking criticism for being another old rich white guy, but now far-left entertainment rag Rolling Stone is chastising him for directing his news agency to not investigate himself or his Democrat rivals. In fact, the entire editorial board has been suspended, except for Trump and the Republicans are still fair game. Writer Matt Taibbi declares this to be death of the news business in his write-up for the Rolling Stone. Bloomberg News suffered a major disruption over the weekend. The episode predicts the future of the news business and the death of the news business. After billionaire and former New York Mayor Mike Bloomberg formally entered the race for the Democratic presidential nomination Sunday, Bloomberg agency editor-in-chief John Micklethwait circulated a memo to editorial and research staff. In it, Micklethwait told staff it would not investigate either his owner and boss or any of his boss's Democratic opponents, because they're embarrassing and exposing themselves all over the conservative news that's blocked. So we're going to block you from investigating them as well. If Mike Bloomberg had any respect for the news business, he would encourage his editorial staff to kick him in the balls at every opportunity. Either that, or he would sell his media business or not run for president. Characteristically, he picked the one path that is most contemptible and destructive, retaining ownership of one of the world's biggest news outlets just to defang it for the duration of his incidentally moronic presidential run. It's an awesomely selfish act that shows his contempt for the whole idea of journalism. With this decision, Mike Bloomberg just put the roughly 2,700 journalists who work for him in a terrible ethical bind. If huge portions of the political landscape are closed off to those reporters by fiat, by definition, none of the reporting in any other direction can really be legitimate. It's appropriate to focus investigative coverage on President Donald Trump, but if this is the only avenue you're allowed, it's not news, and reporters aren't really supposed to put up with such conditions. It amounts to forcing a political directive on the editorial staff. You think? Bloomberg readers and viewers will have no idea what stories were passed over. They won't know what facts or narratives are being left out of coverage. It's a joke. Bloomberg, with this move, is the first major news outlet to openly transform into a unidirectional political organ, formalizing a trend I wrote about in a book called Hate Incorporated. The news landscape has already been divided into a binary coverage paradigm. For-profit media companies have stopped telling their audiences bad news about their political sides. The Bloomberg dictum, created to accommodate a grandiose billionaire jumping into the political ring, is less of an organic development than the coverage problems at places like Fox or at MSNBC. Still, it comes from the same misguided belief that there's such a thing as credible one-sided reporting, or credible reporting that pre-excuses owners or sponsors from coverage. For Mike Bloomberg to own a media network for as long as he has without understanding or caring about this is astonishing. You think? I guess you're kind of in the dark there. He's been a presidential candidate for just a few days now, and he's already done tremendous damage by telling voters he thinks it's okay to buy the free press. And this is the guy who's going to rescue democracy? You know you've gone off the deep end when you've lost Rolling Stone. Former Bloomberg Washington chief Megan Murphy joined the chorus of critics over this. For the record, I was presenting with a near identical memo during his 2016 flirtation, and I was very clear that I would quit the second it ever saw the light of day. To make matters even more comical, the Bloomberg Writers Guild is urging the network to rescind this order. Our statement regarding Bloomberg's editorial decision not to investigate Democratic presidential candidates. Dear colleagues, by now you've seen yesterday's directive to not investigate Democratic presidential candidates. We are extremely alarmed by management's decision to silence the journalists we represent at Bloomberg Industry Group, as well as the unrepresented journalists at Bloomberg News. This is the same thing that Miss Hitler, Angela Merkel's doing in Germany right now. He's just trying to do it with his own news organization. Journalism's first obligation is to the truth, and journalists, we must maintain an independence from those we cover. The Guild believes journalists should not only be allowed but encouraged to thoroughly cover every single candidate as the profession demands in one of the most important elections in modern history. Maybe we'll look out and see the entire newsroom quit. Surely this is just the first gaffe Bloomberg will make on the campaign trail. Can't wait to see the next ones. Thank you for listening.